Gary Sanderson, Doc Sanderson, is an ER physician practicing in a busy trauma center in Provo, Utah. Nothing for Provo. Okay, we had one. All right. He was an NCAA conference wrestling champion for BYU and Go Wrestling. And BYU, and an academic All-American. So. Prior to attending medical school at Kansas City University of Medicine and Biosciences, he taught in a public high school for 2 years, probably the most dangerous part of his life, and was the head wrestling coach. He was awarded the 2005 KCUMB, which is the Kansas City University of Medicine and Biosciences President's Award, the top honor awarded by the university president and the Society for Academic Emergency Medicine Excellence in Emergency Medicine Award. That's a long acronym, but nonetheless, these are huge accomplishments. He completed his emergency medicine residency at Maricopa Medical Center in Phoenix, Arizona. And while in Arizona, he developed a love for pre-hospital medical care. Those words are so important, pre-hospital medical care. And he's currently the medical director for Pleasant Grove City, and he regularly lectures for EMS or emergency services agencies. Come on, let's give it up. Dream, believe, achieve for Dr. or Doc Gary Sanderson. Come on up here, Doc.
So, you guys, I'm so happy to be here. This is one of the funner things that I get to do in my career. I work at a busy trauma center, and for those of you who know, this is the first time I've been in my scrubs at a One Vision convention. I tried this once before at a meeting in Utah, and I got there and I started speaking, and I can't remember who came up, but they said, "What's on your scrubs?" And I looked down, I had blood all over me, so because I had just left the hospital because I was going to be late. So these are freshly washed. I haven't been in the ER in these, so there's no blood on me. But I'm very happy to be here. This is some of the funner things we get to do when I get to associate with you guys. Gary, Tricia, I love you guys. The stories that we hear and the testimonials, it's amazing to see the health benefits that are coming from our products. I think more than I ever dreamed when we created these products we would see. It's truly a testament to the power of the superfruits. And so I just wanted to touch, there's a few things that I love doing, and that's being with you guys. There's a video that if you guys want to start playing in the background, this is a video of Travis and I in Cancun. He was the only one brave enough to go scuba diving. Everybody else went fishing and tried to catch fish. But as I talk, you can see a couple of these guys are spinning around, and you might get a little dizzy. No seizures here because this is me running the camera. But this is just to go through. The thing I love about convention is no matter where I'm at, I always get to practice medicine. Last year at convention, I had the opportunity to reduce a shoulder. I hope you're feeling okay. Where's Leroy? Right? Down in Cancun this last year, we treated a few sunburns, a few rashes, but one of the biggest things I had to deal with was some hurt feelings, and I'm still trying to mend those. And that was when Dave Dove and myself ended up on the golf course with Mr. Davis and Mr. Kirkpatrick, and didn't go very well for those two. And there was a lot of hurt feelings that we're still trying to pump them up and help them feel a little better. That's a shout out for Bruce and Todd. That's a long story to go back on golf. But it's amazing how often we're confronted with health problems. Just today, Brennan's little boy, I guess this is a HIPAA violation, but he wasn't really my patient, but fell down and he's limping still. Little things affect our health, and when we look at health, if we have our health, we really have everything. It doesn't matter how much money you have or what you have in your life, but if you have your health, you can really say you've got what you need. You're surrounded by your loved ones and you've got your health, you can really enjoy your life. And so, again, I love hearing your stories about how it's changed. So, I want to ask you, how come you guys came to convention? Anybody? To see me? Carla, you know what? I love you. Right? I hope it wasn't just to see me, but if it is, awesome. Okay? How many came to make a change? Awesome. What are some of the changes? Somebody, what are you here to change today?
My face.
Your face. We're going to help you with that. Anybody else? Say that again? Health, business, right? Hopefully each one of you is here and you're going to go home with some type of a goal and something that you want to change. can be health-based, it could be business-based, it could be relationship-based. There's whatever your purpose is, hopefully you're here with a purpose, and as you go home, you'll be able to achieve that change. But a couple things I wanted to focus on, okay? It's easy. Everybody says, I have this bad habit. Well, it takes just the same amount of effort to make a bad habit as it does a good habit. And so hopefully what we're doing is making changes so that we can form good habits in our life. And that's some of the things we want to talk about as we move through. So let's talk about some of the health benefits of change. I'm coming down, I apologize. I'd hate being on the stage, so sorry. All right, so let's talk about it. What are the benefits we get from Velocity? Why is it a great product for you? Energy, okay. Alertness, focus. Weight loss, right? How many of you guys have had weight loss success? Almost everybody in the room. It's awesome. What else? Happier, right? It gives you a little mood elevation. Focus. Good. So you guys are kind of hitting on some of the big important part of why velocity is so important for us. How many of you guys notice the appetite suppression? Right? It's pretty profound for a lot of people. It is for me. Okay, and so again, it goes back to helping us make changes. Sorry. So I'm going to click on, this is a website that I'd like, if you guys, we can get a copy of this for you. But this is a tool that'll help you when you're doing meetings in your home. Okay, because there's an epidemic that I want to talk about and touch base on. Some of you guys have heard this. But Brendan, if you'll pull up this website, this is from the CDC's website. And what this is an interactive calendar that looks at the obesity epidemic that we have in the United States. The reason I love this is because you can click over. Let's say, where are you from, ma'am?
Michigan.
Michigan. Brendan, will you scroll over Michigan if you can find it? It's the one that looks like the hand, right? People from Michigan, you say, where are you from? They hold up their hand and say, right here, right? So if you click on the top, you can see it gives you your current obesity rate right now. And you can see that that's it. I can't read that. 31.1%. So when we talk about obesity, we're talking about a BMI, a body mass index, which is a measurement of your height and weight. And they extrapolate that out. And a healthy BMI is from 18 to 24.5. From 25 to 30, you're in an overweight category, and above 30 is obese. Above 45 is morbidly obese. And so when we look at these numbers, how many of you guys have seen my old presentation where I went through this slide from like 1988 to the current? It's pretty profound. There were hardly any states in 1988 who had an obesity rate over 20%. Look at the country right now. Are there any under 20%? There's none. So Brendan, will you click on the slide that shows, or click on the top that shows the 2030 if we continue? So this is the projections. If we continue with the obesity trend that we have, okay, you don't want to be orange, you don't want to be blue, you definitely don't want to be red. Okay? That's projecting the country will be over 50% obese. Huge, huge problems. So again, this is a tool that you can pull up when you can really help people see, and we're going to talk about some of the problems that come from being obese and the health problems that we have. Brendan, if you want to go back to the presentation, please. Thank you. All right, so obesity. It's common. Okay, over 1 out of every 3 Americans is classified obese. So we're not talking overweight, we're talking a BMI more than 30. That's pretty high, okay? We talk about the cost associated with it. It's staggering. When we look at the cost associations with it, Brendan, will you move to that next slide for me? It's pretty staggering, okay? There's a bunch of studies that have been done, but what we look at when we get up here and we see the obesity health problems, how many of you guys can read my slide there and tell me, how many do you know, anybody with any of these health problems? Carla, you raised your hand first.
Yes? Oh, yes, I do.
What disease? You don't have to tell us who, just what? Well, you've got to get them some product. Pretty much all of them. Anybody here have a family member who's diabetic? Yeah. How many of, you don't have to raise your hands, but how many of you in this room are diabetic? Okay. How many were diabetic but then lost weight and aren't diabetic anymore? That's what's cool. Look at those hands that are up. Give them a high. That's great. How many people sleep with somebody that has sleep apnea? How fun is that? Look at all those hands that are up. How good a night's sleep do you get? Not very good, right? All right, so these are some of the big health problems that are destroying our health and destroying our lifestyle so that we can't be happy and we can't enjoy our families. Go ahead, Brennan, move forward. So let's look at the cost specifically. How many of you guys are here today because you want to have more money in your pocket? Right? Most of you are in the business. Hopefully that's part of the reason that you're here, is to learn how to be better with your business, how to keep more of your own money. Well, there's simple changes you can make. Simple changes with your health will help you keep your own dollars. This is what's staggering. When you look at just healthcare costs associated with obesity, $147 billion were spent in 2008. You think that's higher as number today? Obviously, because we have more obese people than we did in 2008. That's a staggering statistic. The one that I think is crazy, this was done on a personal level. So if you're obese, how much is it going to cost you compared to your partner or your friend who's not obese when you look at healthcare dollars spent in 1 year? $1,500. How many of you guys would like to have $1,500 in your pocket right now? I would, absolutely. How many of you guys could do something? I mean, my wife and I were talking, you could do a pretty fun cruise for $1,500. You could do a lot of fun things with $1,500. So if you're obese, you're spending $1,500 more than anybody else. How about your insurance costs? How many of you guys recently purchased health insurance? Anybody here? Life insurance? Are your life insurance costs more? This doesn't even look at those other associated costs. So big study. And when they looked at inflation, obesity is driving our inflation. 27% increase was due directly to obesity in this country. Inflation. So your dollar today is going to be worth less than it is tomorrow. Pretty crazy when you look at those things. So what causes obesity? How many people here can tell me why you're obese? Cake. It's cookies for me, right? Ice cream. Stress, pressure, thyroid, portion size, lack of exercise, sugar. Okay, so is it going to be easy for me as your physician to come up with a plan to help you combat this? It's a pretty complex problem that's plaguing the country. There's not one simple fix-all for our obesity because it is complicated. There are people who have hormonal issues, thyroid problems. There's quite a bit that influence environmental factors, okay? How many of you guys have been outside of the United States and been to a third world country? Are their portion sizes different than ours? Absolutely. How many of you guys go? So I don't know if anybody else, but when you go to medical school and you live as destitute as we did for a few years, my wife can attest to that, right, hon? You really have to get by. And so you get pretty good at eating everything in front of you. So when I go to a restaurant still today and they bring out this massive portion, I cannot not eat all of it. It just goes against everything I have ingrained. I've got to eat it all. And so they bring out these massive portions. I've paid for it. I'm not going to let it go to waste. I don't bring it home because I don't like leftovers, so I got to eat it right now. All these things come back to what's going on. So it's a multifactorial problem that's difficult for us to handle, and there's no panacea that we can say this is going to work for the entire country. That's what's difficult about obesity. So who wants to tell me if we've got 1 in 3 American adults that are obese, what do you think's going on with our kids? They're obese also, right? And if we look at the trend, childhood obesity is following the exact same way that adult obesity is. And it's terrifying because we're seeing the health problems from when we're adults, right? You get to 40 like I hit this year and things just don't work the same. And you're like, man, I'm not able to lose weight. I'm not able to do the things I want to. And you look at those health problems that start. Well, we're starting them now when they're 8. I just took care of a 6-year-old little kid that weighed 57 kilos. Now, who wants to calculate that weight? How much is 57 kilos? So it's 2.2 kilos per pound. So that little I think they were 6.5. How much that little 6.5-year-old weigh? It's a lot of weight for a 6-year-old. Now I got to calculate medication differently. I had to get my pharmacologist to come in and make sure we were giving them the right dose. It causes all kinds of problems. How many of you guys have heard of healthcare associated problems where you get the wrong medication or the wrong dose? Does that happen? Absolutely. Now we've got these chubby little kids, and I have to get a pharmacologist to come in just to double check to make sure I don't give them the wrong medicine. Pretty scary stuff. Go ahead. The next slide. So, how do we combat it? You want to pull that next slide up? All right. So, How do we win the fat battle? Essentially, and I know we've got some people here who are trainers, and they do this every day, but essentially, we've got an energy imbalance. What does that mean? This is pretty simplistic, and again, I just said it's a really complex problem why people are obese, but when we look at it, it can be broken down into pretty simple terms for us. Our energy imbalance means we're taking in more calories than we are what? Expending, okay? And so we've got to fix that imbalance. So go to that next slide. So BMR, your basal metabolic rate. Anybody want to tell me what BMR is? Or can explain it? Exactly. So the amount of calories that it takes just to stay alive, to be there. Okay, this isn't any kind of function. It isn't kind of any activity. You're just alive. Okay, and so you can calculate it. You can go on to Google. Good job. And you can plug in the numbers, and it'll tell you what your BMR is, and that's going to say roughly, it's not perfect, but this is how many calories you should be taking in. So what's happened to our calories in this country? Are we eating healthy calories packed full of nutrition or not? No. What do your kids like to eat? Pizza, ramen noodles, right? My kids, they take the ramen noodles and just pour the powder on it and eat it. I don't know, mac and cheese. What are those little dinosaur-shaped Costco dino nuggets, right? Full of good nutrition or not? No. Full of high calories? Absolutely. So we've seen a degradation of our nutritional content of our food. Again, that's tough to eat. How many of you guys find it really hard to eat healthy? Okay, it's tough. It takes time. My wife and I, we've been focused over the last, since April really, and without her, I couldn't have made the transition. If you guys go out and look at that picture, hopefully I don't look the same as the picture that's out front when you guys came in. I'm down 32 pounds from April. Thank you. I really have to give my wife credit because she's the one that spends all the time with food preparation. It's tough to eat fresh, healthy food. You have to plan, you have to take the time, but when you do, I feel great. And so those are some of the things we've got to focus on. Go ahead to that next slide. So how many of you guys have had success here with velocity? Somebody want to stand up? Tony? Sorry, he's right in front of me.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, man.
Share your story. I know, Tony's clothes are falling off, and that's a good thing. So share your story real quick.
Real quick. Went to Dan Langston's house about 3 years ago. Did not want to go, did not want to be there, did not want to hear the presentation. Didn't hear the presentation, but he gave me a velocity in a Dixie cup. Went home, told my wife I was going to take it. She says, are you out of your mind? Took it the next day, felt great. Long story short, I lost 6 pounds in the first week just sitting behind a desk. Couldn't find them fast enough to get another bottle. I lost 30 pounds in 60 days. And I've kept it off.
For 3 years.
The other health benefit, we talked about high cholesterol and high blood pressure and all those kinds of things. I was maxed out on my blood pressure meds. I was on a booster. Still couldn't keep my blood pressure down. Getting ready to be put on Lipitor. You're a doctor, so I'll just say, after a week, I took myself off my blood pressure meds, which you should never do, right?
It's true. Talk to your doctor.
But I went back to the doctor about 30 days after I started taking Velocity, and he took me off my blood pressure meds forever.
That's awesome.
Thank
you.
And the last part of that is I'm normal, but my wife will tell you as well. Thank you.
So Tony was actually one of my very first success stories. He sent me an email, and it's one of those things that keeps me excited about what we're doing with this company, because you hear how it's changed his life, and it's amazing. Who else has had a transformation with the Velocity that they want to share? Stand up, Jake. We got a mic coming for you here. Jake, where are you from?
Ventura, California.
Ventura, nice to meet you.
Exactly.
Mike. Ventura. Woo!
I, at one point, was weighing 240 pounds, 242 pounds, and I had a stroke about a year and a half ago. We started walking pretty seriously, but I would lose 4 or 5 pounds, and then I'd gain it back. And then when we started taking Velocity in this last March, 1st of March, I lost 30 pounds in 30 days, and I'm down to 50 pounds now.
And power. And power, Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. So again, this is what's exciting. I love hearing the stories. So, and I've shared with you before, I'm an avid scuba diver. I'm trying to get some more scuba divers recruited to go with me. I'm going to California with my dad again. But what's exciting is, you know, when we used to scuba dive off of Catalina, and Travis doesn't want to go because he watched Shark Week, obviously, and he knows there's great whites, and where we've all gotten skinny, it's fair game, because I used to feel real comfortable with my dad, because he was a big man. And I always knew if a shark came up, the shark's going to look at the blubber content between the two of us, and he was going to eat my dad, not me. So he always carried a big knife, because he says, well, if I see the shark, I'm going to stab you in the leg first. So we had this battle. But the problem is he's down over 100 pounds, and so now I don't have that assurance. So I'm trying to recruit some other people that give me some shark protection when we're diving. But it's amazing how your family relationships change. Like we heard earlier, he's able to get down on his hands and knees and crawl after his grandkids. I mean, those are the things that are amazing. And so those are the benefits that we're seeing from this weight loss. Go ahead and move to that next slide for me. So, how many of you guys have heard when you've worked in your business, I haven't lost any weight? Okay? So you know what I tell them? Quit weighing yourself. I don't care how much you weigh, right? Because as you're making a change and we get people exercising, what should we see happen?
Inches.
We should see their muscle content go up and their fat content go down. And if you look at that, that's not a great picture, but 1 pound of fat and 1 pound of muscle aren't the same when you look at how much space they take up. And so as people make this body transformation, they start eating healthier, they start exercising, they're going to build their lean body mass. And as you build your lean body mass, what's happening to your basal metabolic rate? It's going up, because how much energy does it take more energy to keep muscle alive or fat alive? Muscle, right? So the more muscle you have, the more energy you have to stay alive. And so as you make that transformation and your fat's going down and your muscle's going up, you're going to have that energy requirement going higher. So now you can actually have higher caloric intake and not have to worry about it because your BMR is higher. So it's a great thing to tell them. Go ahead and click through these ones. There's just a few, right? Stop weighing yourself. Start taking measurements. And the other thing I like to focus on, how do you feel? How many of you feel better today because you're taking the products, right? I like the clap started and then all of a sudden it died out. Oh, I can't clap. I like it. So that's a big thing. We feel better. And if you're feeling better, what happens? If you feel better, you're going to be happier. Okay? And so you can start taking your, I'm going to get up, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to eat better because I feel better, I'm happier. Those things all help in that whole problem with obesity. And again, I like to focus with velocity is a tool. It's there to help you make that lifestyle change. Okay? It's not a cure-all. It's not a fix-all. We just want you to make some slow changes to where you can maintain it. Because if you're not making a change and you're not changing the lifestyle, you're not using the product right. Okay, and that's the beauty. If we were, again, it goes back to the integrity that the owners of this company, Mr. Davis and Mr. Kirkpatrick, have. They allow me to come up here and say, hey, it's a tool. Do you guys need to take velocity the rest of your life? I know a lot of you take it for the energy and focus, but really, if you've made that lifestyle change, it's not something you're probably going to have to take forever, right? You should be able to stop. You should be eating better. You should be exercising. You should have a better lifestyle. And they allow me to say that because that's the truth. We're not here to sell you something and just sell you. We want you to change your lifestyles. And so again, that's what's exciting. So let's talk about this here. Review from last year. You guys that heard me speak last year. I lost 32 pounds since April. What's the length of blood vessels that I lost?
7,000.
Woo, 7,000. Who's raising their hand, you guys? I know, my mom was prepped. Did you see how quick her hand went up? She was like, how many miles? 224. So 7 miles for every pound of fat loss. Okay, so let's talk about that. If you've lost 7 miles, which is 7 times 32, 224 miles. How far is that from here? Can you make it to California from Vegas? Yeah, right? That could almost be the beach with the blood vessels I've lost in my fat since April. So if I've lost that many miles of blood vessels, what's going on with my heart now? Less work. It's not having to work as hard. Why? It's not having to pump that blood through 220 extra miles of blood vessels. So what's going to happen to my blood pressure? It's going to go down too, because when we talk about resistance, now I'm not going to bore you with the science, But the resistance, when you have less tubing to push through, the resistance goes down, so you don't have to push as hard, so your blood pressure is going to come down. If your blood pressure goes down, again, that makes it easier on your heart. So huge benefits. So go to the next slide. So again, that's just a picture. That's something that's really, it's profound. When you say, well, you've lost 2 pounds in the last week, you lost 14 miles of blood vessels. That's pretty cool. That's something that people can really grab onto. So let's go to the next slide. So let's talk about heart rate. And I don't know how to ask this question good, but what happens if we, let's say, who knows their resting heart rate here? Anybody? 63. That's pretty good. Anybody know Lance Armstrong's resting heart rate? Anybody want to guess? 47. It's actually less than 47. He's in the upper 30s. Okay, when he was doping really high, which I'm okay with that. He was a great biker. I don't know if he used or not. If he did, whatever everybody else did. I don't think we should use, but I still think Lance is a great, great role model if you want to use PEDs, I guess. But you look at that guy's fitness and what he was able to do, but his resting heart rate is 39 typically. So if yours is 62 and hers is 39, what happens to your heart rate over 1 hour? Her heart is beating 2 times as many as Lance Armstrong's. Okay? So this is what, click on that next slide for me. This is what I would challenge you all. You should all know your resting heart rate, and you should make a goal to decrease your heart rate. So we'll look, if your heart rate is up here in the 80s, and you dropped it down to 70, which you could do with improving your fitness and some weight loss, you're going to go from 4,800 beats an hour to 4,200 beats in an hour. How do you think your heart's going to feel about you? Your heart's going to love you, right? Your heart's going to say, thank you. I just had to beat 600 less times in an hour. So this is what's profound, though. If you look from going from 80 to 70 in 1 year, you go from 42 million times down to 36 million, 37 million. You think, that's 5 million less times your heart had to beat that year to stay alive. How much life do you think you just added to your heart? A lot, right? This is dramatic changes you can make. So when you're teaching your folks at home, you want to focus on simple changes. You don't have to focus on their weight loss, because some people might actually gain weight because they're gaining muscle. But you can talk to them, hey, what was your resting heart rate? Best time to take it, first thing in the morning before you get out of bed. That'll give you a baseline. And you start measuring it. And you go, hey, my heart rate's down 5 beats. That's huge when you look at what's going to happen in 1 year. So there's huge benefits. So let's click through this because I'm getting behind here. So why velocity? It's to help you make a lifestyle change. We know the benefits are there. You're going to live longer. You're going to live a fuller life, and you're going to be happier. Okay, there's no arguments about it. Plus, you're going to have more money in your pocket because obesity costs us billions and billions of dollars every year. $300 billion associated with problems associated with obesity. So now let's move to the next slide because this is where I get really exciting. Okay, this is my favorite. Who wants to teach us about Power Blend? Because you know that's why I'm here. And I want to tell you guys, I love you. And want to know why? You guys already bought every ounce of Power Blend that was brought to convention. And we brought a lot. That's amazing. So who wants to teach us about Power Blend? Why should we be taking it? Awesome.
Well, for me, I became pregnant shortly after I started Power Blend and Velocity. So I quit the Velocity. With all of my pregnancies, I've been gestational diabetic early on from 5 weeks. With this last pregnancy, so the doctor said, go in tomorrow, take your blood test. Took it. My blood sugars were at 150. The last time I did the test, they were, with my previous pregnancy, they were over 350. I ended up having 4 blood sugar tests during my pregnancy because the doctor didn't believe that I would not have the issue again. So I had no gestational diabetes with my last pregnancy, and he kept telling me, I know you're back on your diet. What are you doing? What are you doing? I says, I eat whatever I want. I was eating cookies and all sorts of stuff that I shouldn't have, but I was just taking the Power Blend, and it, made a huge difference in my pregnancy.
Okay, and so what's in the Power Blend that I love? Okay, let's get over on this side. Who's going to teach us? Okay, vitamin C, good. So, packed full of antioxidants, right? Okay. What do antioxidants do for us?
Fight off free radicals.
Fight off free radicals. And what's a free radical? Pretty much everything. So what it is it's an angry little atom in your body that has an unpaired electron. And what's its whole goal? If I'm a free radical right now, what am I looking for? I'm looking to hook up. I'm in Vegas. I'm not looking to hook up, honey, I promise, right? But my whole goal in life is to hook up because I'm in a horrible, terrible mood. And so I'm ravaging your body right now, and I just come up to my DNA right here. Okay, and you guys are all nice and happy. And if I come up and say, how you doing, man? You're with me, right? I just yanked him away because now I'm happy, right? He's my buddy now. I'm happy. I'm not a free radical. But what did I just do to my DNA? I just ranked all, so now what are you guys? Boom, I just created a free radical. So now the four of you get up and go wander for a minute and go find a free radical buddy. Right? Oh yeah, and this is happening inside our body at a cellular level. Oh, see, that's a cell membrane right there, and they just made two free radicals. So now that whole table, get up, go. You guys are free radicals. Your table, you just got unhappy. Oh, your table, go find somebody. You guys are ticked off. Yeah, so if you've got somebody ripped away, all right.
Now you guys.
All right. Okay, now everybody hold tight for a second. Okay, what's going on right now in our body systems? Chaos, right? You've got free radicals that are running around, ripping your body apart. They're hitting your cell membranes, your mitochondria, your DNA. Okay, so I need 5 sexy people to stand up.
Right behind you.
Where you at? Oh, there you go. We got 2 on that table. Okay, the sexy guys are our antioxidants. And now what are the antioxidants going to do? They're going to go around the room and give all these angry free radicals a hug. And when they do that, they neutralize. Start hugging, sexy guys. That's your jobs. Yeah, see, we got some sexy going on right now. Give them some hugs. Yes, and so as they give the hugs, now you're happy. You can sit back down. Oh, yeah. All right. Hey, we got an angry area here that's not getting some attention. They need some hugs, sexy antioxidants. Get over here. This group is left. So right here, this is my acai berry, right? Because he is excited. He is getting it on. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Okay? So, simple what happens. But when you see how this destroys our body and how it ages, it goes back to that wreck that Travis and I dove on. Okay? We're rusting from the insides out. Oxidative process. When we burn energy, when we create energy, we're using oxygen and we're creating free radicals. So just like a car emits exhaust, we've got a certain amount of free radicals that are being made every day. But our body, we have natural things in place to fight free radicals, but we overwhelm it, especially our skin. Okay? What's out there that's combating our skin that we can't have any control over, especially being here in Vegas at South Point? What's the first thing? Smoke. I just walked into like secondhand smoke heaven right here, right? How many of you guys coughed? Hopefully you're not smokers. If you're a smoker, we're going to have the smokers prevention here later. We're going to meet and talk about that. Okay? Smoke, what else? Pollution, right? How many of you guys are in LA? How bad is pollution in Ventura? I'm trying to decide if I'm going to come out and lecture out there, but is it okay? Yes. All right, because I know when I went to the Philippines, I went and did a trip to the Philippines after that big typhoon, because I had lived in that area for 2 years, and everything there is diesel. And so like halfway through the day, you'd take out a hanky and you wipe your forehead and it's black. And that's how much pollution's out there. I don't know if it's the same way in LA, but Ventura's a little nicer, right? All right, maybe I'll be out there then. Pollution definitely, I don't know how many of you guys have been to Wasatch Front. We're in a nice little catch basin and the pollution sits down and it can't leave anywhere because we got a nice little mountain range that surrounds us on all sides. Okay, pollution's bad. How many of you guys have asthma days at your kids' school where the pollution's so high they can't go outside? We have it in Utah County. Right, that's pretty scary. What else? Sunshine, yeah. We love the sun, right? You guys were all sitting out. We had some sunburned folks in Cancun that love the sun a little too much. Okay, but what happens? What does the sun do to our skin? It oxidizes it. What's the sun do to your car? Get a little water, it bakes it. Okay, what else? What's out there? What else is out there causing? What? Pesticides. How many of you guys have pesticides in your food? Everybody, right? How many of you guys know about GMOs? Yeah, they're awesome too, right? What else? How about toxins? How many of you guys have gotten your medicine cabinet and thrown your old pills in the toilet? Happens, right? How many of you guys, don't admit this because you'll get arrested by the EPA guys, how many of you guys have dumped oil or antifreeze into your gutter? Hopefully not, because that's really bad, but that's happening. How many of you guys have seen raw sewage being dumped into our water systems? I have, right? Those little black streams that you have to step over in third world countries, okay? How many of you guys think we have those in the U.S.? Yep, okay? So we've got all kinds of oxidative stress that's out there that we have to fight and combat. And so what we've done, and what's so amazing, is seeing the health benefits from the Power Blend, more than we've ever seen. Okay, and you guys are a testament to it. I love hearing your stories. It's the Power Blend that's going to make the long-term changes in our bodies to help us stay healthy and prevent aging. We're all going to age. We're all going to die. But what we want to have is that health as long as we can, so we can enjoy our life while we're here. Because it's hard to see. I see sweet, sweet people come in that are in their 50s, and they are broken down. And they're in the ER hoping we can put them back together. And I'm sorry, if you're seeing me, it's too late. That's why I love doing what we're doing here. This gives me an opportunity to help move your health forward, and hopefully you won't be in seeing me, and I don't have to go talk to your wife or your loved one and say, I'm sorry, we did everything we could, but so-and-so has died. Okay, that happens every day in my job, and it's awful. And it's happening to young people that it shouldn't be happening to. Okay? So, I love Power Blend, and again, I love you guys because when I went to go get samples, because I wanted to give away samples while we were talking here, said, we sold out everything. I said, everything? We brought a truckload, and they said, it's gone. Awesome. So you guys are phenomenal. Give yourself a hand for that, because I love Power Blend. So that's going to transition us here for the last 2.5 years. You guys that were here at first, we're down with Dan, and we got our little pixie cups out, and we poured some Power Blend in there and put a pill in there for you, and that's how we were giving it when we started. You guys have been working hard for 2.5 years to work on your insides, and you guys are feeling it. You're feeling better, you look better. It's a sexy group today, right? And if we keep doing, we'll probably get as sexy as Tony in the back, because he's been exposed to acai for a long time. That's my shout out for you, Tony. He's a sexy man. Yep. But we look at this, that's the transition to why we came out with the new product line that we came out with, right? You guys have been working from the outside, or from the inside out. Now it's time to start working from the outside in, okay? Like we learned from Mark, which you can tell, okay, I love that stuff. Okay, that's all scientist stuff. He's talking about the skin layers and what's happening. And when we start talking about cell communication, why that skincare line is so important, because we're talking about activating your cells and your body to start talking to each other, so that as that skin, as we're trying to keep that 18-day skin cycle turning over, okay, everybody starts as we age. This is the way I think of it, right? You've got all these little dudes. If this is a table of cells and this is a table of cells, they're going to get up and walk and talk to each other, back and forth, and we're communicating in our skin layer. As we age, what happens to our communicators? They're aging too. And what happens when we get older? Do we move as fast as we did when we were 12? No, we don't. And so what we're trying to do is activate those messengers to get them talking to each other. Get those cells turning over so that your fibroblasts, your elastin are being produced, and we're keeping that skin nice and thick. I take care of wounds every day because I'm an ER doctor. Do you think I like sewing old people's skin up or young people's skin up? Young people's skin up. Why? It heals better, so they think, man, that doctor was awesome. I don't even have a scar. Well, they have a little scar, right? But it's easy because their skin actually cuts better. So when we cut your skin, it's not just going to fall apart. When you have no elastin and no collagen and you fall down, what happens to your skin? It just tears into pieces. And then I have to spend a lot of time trying to put that jigsaw puzzle back together. When a little kid falls down, whacks his head on the wall, what happens? Nice straight line, and I put it back together and it looks awesome. And it heals better and it heals faster. How many of you guys have had a wound recently that just seemed like it was never healing? Yeah, we got to get some skincare on you, right? Because that's what happens as we age. We don't heal as well. We don't have the elastin. We don't have the collagen being made from the fibroblasts in that dermal layer. And you saw how it gets thin. How many of you guys have noticed, man, I'm seeing a lot of blood vessels? Yeah? Again, that's that you bruise because the blood vessels are on the top. Your skin is really thin. You fall down, somebody goes to help you. And what happens to grandma's arm? You just peel the skin right up, okay? That's because of all the oxidative stress on the skin. So go ahead with these next slides because I just want to touch briefly. You guys heard from the expert. And what I want to tell you is really amazing. And again, it goes back to Mr. Davis and Mr. Kirkpatrick. When they went to Mark and his company and said, hey, we want to make the best skincare line that you guys can make. They said, okay, we hear that all the time. Let's talk about price. We said, no, we don't want to talk about price. Make the best product you can make and then come back to us. And they did, and they came back expecting us to say, nope, that's too high. And what did we do? We didn't. We said, okay. And they're like, are you serious? And we said, yep. And we worked on price, and we got it without changing the formula that they made. Because when you listen to Mark, how many of you guys were impressed with that guy? Does he know what he's talking about? He knows what he's talking about, right? So let's go ahead and click through a few of these. All right. So let's talk about acai. I've had the benefit of being schooled by two of probably the most well-educated people I've ever met about acai. One of the benefits I have is being able to sit down with Tony. Okay, Tony is in Brazil. Tony's been in the countries. He's seen the plants. He's climbed the plants. He's picked the plants. He looks at the product. He makes sure that those acai berries are the highest quality berry you can get. I've learned a ton from Tony. Sitting down and talking to Mark and being schooled on skincare stuff, okay, that's not anything we get in medical school. All this stuff, I'm learning from him. I mean, this guy is one of the top scientists in the industry. He's making this product. And you heard, the stuff that we have in our product, it's cutting edge science. It's to help our cells talk. It's amazing. So when we look at acai though, it's got flavanol, which is only found in acai. Okay? This is an antioxidant that you can't get in any other fruit. That's why this stuff is so amazing. We've been able to put that in with the ingredients, the active ingredients that Mark came up with to help us activate our cells to talk, activate our fibroblasts to start making collagen and elastin, to help us look younger and better. Go ahead to that next slide. Camu Camu, vitamin C. How many of you guys knew the vitamin C was such a vital component to building collagen? Right? And what does collagen do for us? You guys just got this lecture from Mark. What's that? Thickens the skin, gives it elasticity, it gives us the structure and support so that we don't get the sagging in our skin. Pretty amazing. And we know about Camu Camu and how potent it is, full of antioxidants. Go to cupuaçu. I love cupuaçu. It's my favorite fruit. Okay? I love it because it's such a natural anti-inflammatory. When you talk to the Brazilians, they call it the pharmacy in a fruit because they use it for everything. It's an amazing fruit. You look at the antioxidants that are in it, the anti-inflammatories, and you want to talk about skin inflammation and acne. How many of you guys have kids or struggled with acne still? I love it when I get up and my kids say, Dad, you got a zit. And I'm like, I'm 40, I have pimples still. It's awesome, right? How many of you guys love that wake up in the morning? You know, you got family photos and there it is staring at you. Great. That's inflammation under the skin. That inflammation, we combat that with the products that we have. The thing that's cool about cupuaçu is the phytosterols. It's one of the most potent anti-inflammatories and antioxidants that you can find. Help us fight that oxidative stress. Go ahead. So let's talk about the age-defying moisturizer. Okay, Mark didn't get into the specific ingredients, which I'm not going to touch on a lot, but we look at, go back, sorry. I hit the wrong button. I wanted to use the pointer. So these are some of the active ingredients that Mark talked to you about specifically to help our cells communicate, to activate our fibroblasts, help plump up that skin and give it that young, natural, healthy, glowing skin that we all want. Even guys, you guys that are sitting in here going, I don't use skin products, right? That's that metrosexual stuff. Okay? Trust me, your husbands are going to use it because when I've tried to use it, so we had samples when we first got the product, and my wife, she's getting all squirmish now, okay? She wouldn't let me use it, okay? She got pretty greedy really fast. And when they brought up the new pricing today, when we launched the skincare, do you know what she leaned over and she said? You better get your own because I'm not sharing, okay? So hopefully you guys are going to work that out in your own homes. But essentially, it's helped us to boost our skin barrier function. That water loss that Mark talked about, as we boost our skin and we get it healthier, we're not going to have as much water transfer taking place. And so it's really, really important. Go to the next one for me. So the serum, okay? Again, you've got some different products here. Milk peptide complex, Aquacell, again, they're all designed to help do what Mark taught you about. Again, you are not going to find a better product out there. Helps reduce visible wrinkles, fine lines, gives you that radiant, happy, young glow. How many of you guys wished you had the skin that you had when you were 20? Okay? Yeah, see, there we go. We got our metrosexual raising his hand. Yeah! Okay? Go ahead, the next one. And this is what I think is cool. Okay? Even the facial cleanser is infused with the power fruits. Okay? Again, it's to help exfoliate that skin, get it prepped for the other two to work. Okay, and so I know a lot of you are out there going, well, I'm just going to use the serum, or I'm just going to use the moisturizer because my skin's moist. The way they're made, if you have moist skin, the moisturizer is still going to help balance. It's going to help plump. It's going to do all those things that Mark talked to you about. So if you're not using them together in the three, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Okay, they're expensive, but as I've started to learn about this skincare, this is going to be fun discussion for you guys with your significant others tonight. How many of you actually knew that your wife was spending a significant amount of money on face care stuff? Any of you husbands out there know that? Yeah, I learned this in this process as we started to study skincare, and I went home to my wife and I said, hey, do you use like a serum? Do you use like a moisturizer? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, how much are you spending? And then the discussion really started, okay? You're doing it, okay? And how many of you guys, especially sexy guys like Tony, made this body transformation, looks great? How many of us don't want to look a little better, right? All of us do, okay? So this isn't a product for men. This isn't a product for women. This is a product for everybody. And the thing I'm excited about with the facial cleanser is, unfortunately, my kids got my oily skin and my pimply skin when I was a young kid. I've got beautiful kids, and they're starting to struggle with acne, okay? How many of you guys were that pimply kid in junior high that got picked on a little bit? It sucks, right? You want to have your skin looking good. So I'm excited to get enough product home because my wife won't share with anybody that might, sorry, honey. She's dying. She's like, oh. But to get my kids to be able to use a facial cleanser too is going to be great. Go ahead to the next slide for me. So, Amavita. How many of you guys know what that means? Love life. Okay? How many of you guys think it looks good? How many of you guys went out and looked at the packaging? Okay? The thing we struggled with, I think, was coming up with packaging that actually showed what's in it. It's an amazing product. There's been no skimping on making this product, and trying to package it so that it looks and reflects what's in it was tough because you've got an amazing, amazing product. But again, we're trying to get you guys that have your skin cell turnover that is at 28 days, some of you might even be at 30 days, to get that back to 18 days and to be able to do that in the next month, 2 months, to notice that skin plumping and tightness today when you use the product, you're going to be amazed. So I'm looking forward to having some of the guys come back and give us some testimonials about, yeah, I look better. I got less wrinkles. I know the ladies are going to do it. I don't know about the model that was rubbing it on her elbows. I don't know if that's like a big thing with ladies. You don't want your elbows to be saggy. Is that true? See, I'm learning. No, rough. You don't want them rough. She also rubbed it right here too, but we're not going to get into that. But again, that's the skin cell cycle, and the product line is made to address that skin cell cycle so that we can turn it over, keep those healthy, good cells coming from that basal layer of our epidermis, moving to the surface and doing that more rapidly so that we look better. We've got time for questions because I get a lot of health questions. Oh, and the one question I didn't get asked, I got another t-shirt. Who can take, and it's got to be a raise your hand, don't be just yelling out. Who can take Power Blend?
All ages and babies.
I think you were first. Tricia, she's yelling it out. She's excited.
Everybody.
Everybody. Is there anybody who can't take Power Blend?
You can take it from before you're born till the day you die.
Little kids. So I have 3 daughters, and it's awesome because my youngest, she's pretty spicy. They've all been taking the Power Blend. I don't know when it started. We tried to get them to take it, and it was kind of hit or miss, and now they're taking it every day. And you want to know why? Because their hair feels better. My little 7-year-old daughter, Dad, look how long my hair is. It looks so pretty now. I don't have the split ends. I'm like, Well, what have you been doing? I'm taking Power Blend, right? So everybody can take it. Is there anybody that you have concerns can't take Power Blend? Allergies. Okay. If they have an allergy to any of the product in there, of course, they probably shouldn't take it. Food allergies are big issues. That's why it's listed everything that's in there. How about somebody on Coumadin? Anybody know what Coumadin is? Blood thinner. Okay, I hate Coumadin, but it makes tons of people's lives better. Coumadin is rat poison. Okay, all it does is it thins out our blood. So when you look at those little blocks that you put out for the mice to eat, what's it doing to the mice? How does it work? Thins out their blood. It doesn't kill them, but what do mice and rats do all the time? They fight. So as soon as they go back to their den, they start fighting, and what happens? Now they have thin blood, they get punched by their buddy, they bleed out, and that's what kills them. Pretty grotesque when you think about it, right? So, but Coumadin works well. What's the problem with Coumadin? Vitamin K. Vitamin K reverses Coumadin. So if you're taking Coumadin to get your blood thinned at like INR of 2, that's just a blood thin measure. We won't go into that. You should be below 1 for a normal person. We want you to be between 2 and 3 for a lot of health problems. So I always get, well, can they take it with Coumadin? Absolutely. Well, is there vitamin K in it? Yeah? Well, they can't take it then. Well, that's not true. With vitamin K, you just got to make sure you maintain the same kind of diet. If you were a meat eater and all of a sudden you become a vegetarian and you just spiked up the vitamin K in your diet, what's going to happen to your Coumadin level? It's going down. And so your blood's going to thicken up. And that's dangerous for them. So you just got to maintain a normal level. Okay? So let's get a couple mics up, and would have you, if you guys would step up to the mic and ask your question, and then so everybody can hear, and then we can talk about it. We got a mic right up here to the front. Anybody got a question you want to ask? This is the time. You guys don't get access to me very often because I do practice full time, and so I'm not everywhere that I should be for you guys as a resource. I wish I could be. So this is your chance to ask some questions.
Over here.
Go ahead.
My question is with the skin line, the skincare. Does it work, is it, how do you word it, softening scars? Like if you have scars, you're worried about trying to soften it, or is it going to help with that, softening scars or reducing them?
So it will help with the remodeling of the skin. And so if you're turning your skin cells over and you're remodeling, theoretically it should help. It's not going to make your scar go away because what you have is what you've got. And there's two big things with scarring. And this is, my uncle's a plastic surgeon, and this is what he tells all his patients. Two main keys. Number one is genetics. Some people scar way more than others, and there's nothing you can do about that because of genetics. Okay, how many of you guys have seen a keloid? Yep, keloid is that big knobbly scar. That's a genetic thing, and we all will kind of keloid to some point. Some people have great genetics, right? Thank your mom and dad. Some of us don't. Thank your mom and dad. But you can't change your genes. What's the second most important thing with scarring? Sun exposure, okay? Sun exposure, it takes a year. When you get cut, it takes a year for that scar to mature. At 1 year, what you have is what you're going to get. So if you're protecting your skin from oxidative stress during that year, and sun exposure is a huge one, you're going to have less scarring. That's the one thing you can guarantee. You can buy all the other products you want, but if you what you have at a year is what you're going to have. So if you've got an old scar, I honestly be interested to see. You'll have to give us some feedback what happens, but it's not designed to reverse scars. Good question. Go ahead.
What's the fiber content in Power Blend?
I have no idea what the fiber content in Power Blend is. That's a good question. So I can tell you it's going to be high because everything in there is raw fresh fruit other than what else? It's got honey powder and it's got epicor, but everything else is freeze-dried fresh fruit that's just processed. You saw Tony's video is amazing because you see how they harvest the acai, they turn it into a pulp, and then they freeze-dry it, and that helps preserve the nutrient content as much as they can. But for me to be able to give you what a fiber content is, I don't think we've ever had it analyzed to say this is how much fiber's in it. But if you go eat an apple, anybody tell me what the fiber content of an apple is? I don't know. All I know is it's rich in fiber. Sorry.
Come in and ask a question.
I'll see what I can find out for you. Okay, who's up next?
Hey, Gary.
Go ahead, Gary.
Dr. Sanderson. She just had a great testimony with her heart, no more blood pressure pills and whatever. Our cardiologist, he looked at the product and he was very impressed. Other than the cocoa powder, he question, he wanted to know how much was in it before he would start, you know, sort of testing and then saying he would back it to his heart patients. What's the problem with cocoa powder, and is it a major issue at all?
Well,
In
again,
the power blend.
yeah, in the power blend,
Yes.
it's a very, very small amount in the power blend.
What about the velocity?
The velocity is a little bit higher, but again, when you look at the velocity, you're talking about a stimulant, and so I'm not going to be able to, I'd have to, you know, give you the direct formula, which the propriety blend is a mix that we can't give out. If we do, then we have nothing as a product anymore because anybody could make it. But the concern is anybody with any kind of heart issue, high blood pressure, that's being dealt with a cardiologist, you have got to get in and talk to your cardiologist. Okay, I get this question all the time. Well, can they take it? Sure, but you need to let your doctor know what you're taking. It's a stimulant. And any good cardiologist, if you have high blood pressure, heart disease of any kind, they're going to tell you you should avoid all stimulants. For you coffee drinkers, that means no more coffee. How many of you guys tell your cardiologist you drink coffee every morning? Right? You probably don't. You should. Because stimulants are going to increase your blood pressure, increase your heart rate, and that's what they're trying to control because they probably have you on a medication to lower your heart rate. So you'd have to just sit down with them. We had a patient that he went into his cardiologist, and the cardiologist said, I don't care what you're doing, don't stop. Okay, but you should be very open, take it in, and if there's specific questions, that stuff we'd have to talk individually on. Good question, Gary.
When you're taking the Power Blend and you have these high levels of vitamin C, do you need to be concerned with getting too much vitamin C?
So the nice thing about the vitamin C that you're getting is it's a natural vitamin C. It's not synthetic. Okay, that's the beauty of what you're getting. It's not synthetic vitamin C. The other thing too is any good vitamin, you're going to excrete what your body cannot use. And so how many of you guys have noticed, especially when you first start taking it, how bright yellow your pee is? Anybody notice that? Yeah, when doctors start talking about the color of your pee and your stool, that's when everybody gets all clammed up and doesn't want to talk. Okay? It's important questions, but you notice that's your body excreting what you can't use. But what happens over time? What do you notice to your urine color? It starts to get a little clearer. Why is that? Your body, because of the oxidative stress, you're helping your body get back into a homeostasis where it can utilize more of that nutritional content that's coming through. Okay? And so you shouldn't have to worry about it because your body will excrete what's not needed, and it's not a synthetic vitamin C. It's coming specifically, the main source is the camu camu.
This side, if we could,
Okay?
What is the amount, or is it small enough, of protein in Power Blend to be safe for someone with PKU?
That's a good question. Again, it's like the fiber content. I can't tell you what the protein content is. There's a little bit of protein, especially from the acai berry. And so again, that'd be something you'd have to really be very careful with. PKU is a genetic disorder that you have problems with protein synthesis, being able to handle protein load, and so that's something you'd have to be real cautious with and work with your dog.
Hi, I've been on a weight loss program for several months. I'm new to Velocity and to Power Blend. Now, the weight loss program I'm on has my body in a state of ketosis. Will taking the Power Blend knock me out of ketosis?
So ketosis is you're taking in way less calories than your body needs to survive, and so you go into another energy producing mode, and that's ketosis, and you spill ketones. It shouldn't, and you've got to be, again, what happens, you've got to be real cautious with going on real restrictive caloric diets. It's going to work for you, but what happens is it puts your body in starvation mode. And what happens to starvation mode, okay? And this is a question for the good Lord. You can ask him why he made us this way. But how do we store energy, excess energy in our bodies? Fat, right? If I'm making bodies, we're going to store it as muscle. Because what does our body break down for? Now, that sounds blasphemous. I'm not telling God he did it wrong. I just don't understand why he did it this way. Let me rephrase that. I won't get shocked right now. But we break down proteins first. And so when you go into ketosis, part of the problem you're in is you're breaking down your muscle tissue before you're going to break down your fat. And so we want to be in a fat-burning mode, not a ketotic mode. It does work, and there are a lot of diets that put you in ketosis, but it's just something you got to pay attention to. The Power Blend is going to help fight that oxidative stress because you're going to be in a higher oxidative stress on your body systems when you're in ketosis. So the Power Blend will actually be very helpful for you. Shouldn't kick you out of ketosis though. Let's go 2 more questions and then we need to wrap it up.
We do have time and just got approval for these 3 right here, if that's okay.
Okay, yep.
Dr. Sanderson, we went to see an innovative oncologist, radiation MD, and he said, you know, your supplements look great. You probably should take a break from them every once in a while. I'm like your wife with her skincare. Forget it. It took me too long to get where I am right now. I don't want to take even a week or what have you. What's your brush on that one?
So the Power Blend, I don't see any reason that you would need to back off because again, your body's going to excrete what you don't need. And again, you know, if you look at the National Cancer Association, the American Heart Association, I love it because they're saying, hey, you've got to be getting an antioxidant-rich diet. Okay, but we can't. How many of you guys can go to the store and buy camu, kupuasu, and acai? Anybody here? Right? Not one of us can buy those fruits. So how are we supposed to get it if we're not supplementing our diet? So they've said, look, you got to have a diet rich in antioxidants, but we don't suggest supplementing yet. Okay? Because that would turn the supplement market crazy. But there's no way for us to get it. The velocity, I'm a big proponent of cycling on the velocity. Again, the velocity is a tool to help you make a lifestyle change, and if it becomes a crutch that you now have to get up and have a velocity every day, I don't think you're using that tool appropriately. I think it works better when you give your body a little break, a couple weeks. But again, that's, you know, people are taking it and take it every day. I know people are taking more than 1 a day. Again, the recommendation is 1 a day. And if you're finding that it's not working for you as well as it did when you first started, maybe you take a break for 2 weeks and then come back on and see how you do and see if it re-energizes. It's a great question, Tricia. Thank you.
I have 2 questions. I had the kupuasu. I'm really sensitive to caffeine, and so I can throw it in the chocolate. And I read that kupuasu is related to chocolate.
It's in the coca family.
And so I just wondered, what is there? You guys are saying there's no caffeine in the kupuasu, and I just wanted to check out if there was.
Well, so it depends on, it's not the caffeine that, I mean, it's from the same family, it's from the same plant species, but it's not going to be one where you're getting like a coffee caffeine amount by any means. We don't have any synthetic caffeine added into the Power Blend. The Velocity, there is caffeine in it, and it's less than a cup of coffee. And that's synthetic caffeine.
Is there synthetic caffeine?
Yep, and there is natural caffeine too.
The question is, there's somebody who's interested in the product that is vegan, and honey is apparently from animals, and so she can't have that.
Well, that's crazy. I don't mean to be mean. I just did vegan for like a week.
The vegans, you know, have a lifestyle that they don't want to affect the animals. So I just wanted to put that out there. It'd be nice to maybe have it with vegan.
Yeah, I don't think it's such a small amount of, I mean, we would be doing everybody else a disservice to take the honey powder out because it adds such a benefit to it. Because if, I mean, again, and Tony can tell you, camu doesn't taste very good, right? Right? There's the kupuasu, I like the flavor of it. It tastes very weird. Thank you. It has a weird flavor, but again, that's such a very small niche market that I don't think it would be beneficial to everybody to change for a vegan product. I just ate vegan for a week and it was tough. I mean, when you have to eliminate everything out that's animal, it'd be very, very difficult to maintain. But if they have problems, I love honey. If you look at, so you guys, how many of you guys have allergies here? Sorry, I know I'm going over time. How many of you guys have just allergies like to dander and pollen? Okay, how many of you guys are eating honey from somebody that's raising bees in your neighborhood? Okay, why should you be doing that? It's going to help with your allergies by desensitizing you slowly with the small amounts of allergens that are in that honey. It's very, very good. So natural honey that you're getting from a local producer is amazing.
Thank you for having me. I have 2 quick questions. One is...
you only get one.
Okay, one
I'm
is
kidding.
fine. We saw earlier when they posted the abstract from the Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry that in the freeze-dried packaging, there actually is traces of all of those minerals. Could you elaborate if that is, or like, in what comparison that is to the pasteurizing? Is it less, is it more, or is it comparable? Because when I tell somebody, oh, our freeze-dried packaging still has minerals, to what degree versus the pasteurized? I think we...
So it's going to be, the reason we use the freeze-dried, there's been multiple studies specifically on acai, and this is from Dr. Schaus that I had the opportunity to meet through Tony. He's one of the world's experts on acai, and they have studies specifically looking at the freeze-dried preparation of acai versus the other forms, and they found that the freeze-dried is much more potent, maintaining its nutritional content, and that's the reason we go with the freeze-dried process.
Last question is real quick. Remember when the skincare line came up and he showed the experiments versus no treatment versus lead-in treatment, and then his subject or his product or his main ingredient? Does Velocity and Power Blend have any evidence that it works other than anecdotal?
So we have not done any studies to do any kind of in vivo or in vitro studies with the products. But again, if you want to look if it works, you talk to any person that's in here and they'll talk to you. But we don't have any studies that we've done with any kind of a double-blinded controlled study.
Yeah, no, and I'm not to jab or anything. It's just when I tell my friends, they'll say to me, well, it could be the placebo effect.
Sure.
Like an anecdotal testimonial, it doesn't convince them.
So,
are you planning to do any studies to prove it works?
We've talked about it, but not specifically. Because once you start moving into double-blinded studies, then you start moving out of a nutraceutical environment into a pharmaceutical. And trust me, you don't want us having to deal with the FDA. And that poses a problem with what we do as a doctor. Everything we want has to be double-blinded and everything in those kind of studies. Those studies are very hard. They're very expensive. They're very time-consuming. And so if you look at a new medication that comes out, it's averaging about 12 to 15 years for when a company comes up with a new drug before it can actually come out to market. Yeah, nothing that we have in the works right now to do any kind of double-blind controlled studies. Last question.
The reason I got into this is because I noticed on Facebook I have bad arthritis because I've been dealing with parts for like 35 years, so really bad. And I take MSM, which is a sulfur substitute. And I got a hold of Daniel Lanston, and I didn't even notice that it was for weight loss as well, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I didn't know that. So he sent me some samples, and I texted him, and I go, like third day out, I'm going, oh my God, my hands are feeling good. And I said, well, call me funny, but does this take your appetite away? And he goes, yeah. So I just wanted to share that with you. It's not a placebo. It is not. That's a blonde thing. Yeah.
And that's the one thing we can tell you over and over. The amount of time and the integrity that the company has in maintaining that we have the highest quality products. That's really, I think, Bruce and Todd, Mr. Kirkpatrick, and Mr. Davis' biggest focus, to make sure what you get is of the highest quality.
I have a question. I have arthritis, and these knuckles here were really, really large. I couldn't button my shirt, Jake. Since I've been taking these products, I have full mobility, and these seem to be shrinking. Is that possible?
Well, it's the anti-inflammatories that you're getting from the superfruits. Me too. So you guys heard I was a college wrestler. I was okay. I wasn't near as good as my famous family. I like to claim I taught him everything. I don't know if you guys have heard of Sanderson. He was a gold medalist, never lost a match in college. I taught him everything he knows, right? But when you do that kind of abuse to your body, I just turned 40, and 3 years ago, my wife, I'd get out of bed and my back hurt and everything ached. And when you take in a natural anti-inflammatory, you feel better. And when you feel better, your mood elevates, and when your mood elevates, you get a placebo effect, and everything's a little better. I always like to say, and I don't mean to pick on anybody, but if anybody here has fibromyalgia, right? It's a horrible disease because we don't even know what's going on. But I can tell you, if you give them $5,000 and you say, go have a blast, they're going to be outside, and they're going to be at the store, and they're going to spend that $5,000 and then have the greatest time of their life. And then when they got back home, the next day, they're not going to be able to get out of bed again. So absolutely, there's a placebo effect in really everything we do in life. But the biggest thing we can do is elevate our mood. We start to feel better about ourselves. We start to look better. You're going to feel better, and you're going to be doing more and more to where you're chasing your grandkids on your hands and knees, and you can get right back up. And if that's not what you're here for, I think you're missing the boat, because it's all about quality of life and spending that quality with the loved ones that we have as long as we can. So I hope for you that you continue with health, you continue to make changes in your life to improve your health and your longevity so that we can be here for as long as the Colosseum. I just went to Italy with my wife, and I'm telling you, I was amazed to look at a structure that was built 2,000 years ago and to see that it's still standing. I actually walked where Caesar stood and walked. And this, that's made up. That's Hollywood. How many of you guys knew that? Right? He never actually said, thumbs up, let him live, thumbs down, kill him, right? That's Hollywood. They never did that. But what I think is cool, and what I want to tie back to, is the company that's been built is built on a strong foundation. The products that we have are the best that you can get. And when you combine a strong foundation, you've established a structure that should be able to stand for 2,000 years. And that's what we've done. And that's what's so exciting, is to be able to see you guys make those changes, change your lives, not only health-wise, but also financially. It's amazing. So again, thank you for letting me be here, and thanks for all that you guys are doing.